Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to my kitchen. Today is Friday. It's August 11th. We're going to do a few things today. Yesterday, I went to my local farm stand, and I did pre-record a couple of clips, but I'm not going to use them because I wasn't happy with how much I rambled and what was said on them. So, I'm going to give you a little bit of a brief synopsis of what we're going to do today. We're going to start over here. You're going to notice there's a lot of things around, and I will explain what that's for in a bit. But we're going to start right here. And at my local farm stand, I got the best sweet corn that we've had in a very, very long time. We've been actually going to this farm stand. This is our second season with them, and their sweet corn is just out of the world. I got a dozen ears, but instead of eating this now, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to put this up for the winter. You might be going, oh, that's crazy. How can you freeze sweet corn? Well, you would be surprised at how easy it is to do. Now, what you can do is if you do have a favorite local farm stand that has fresh sweet corn, what I am doing this year is I am buying it by the dozen. You're going to parboil it just for a few minutes, for about 3 to 4 minutes, and then you're going to take the shucked ears. And if you don't know what shucking is, it's taking all of this off, so you just have the cob. Then what you're going to do after it's boiled for 3 to 4 minutes is you're going to quickly take it out of the pot. You're going to put it in ice cold water for a few minutes. Then you're going to line a paper towel in a tray. You want to have your corn completely dry before you freeze it. That means that there's no water droplets on the kernels. And then you can either suck it up or put it in a freezer bag, and it will stay in the freezer for up to 6 months. So, we'll be doing that today. Now, behind me, and I'm going to point to it right there, it's all the way across the room, I was able to get a half bushel of tomatoes, and in some of these tomatoes from my farmer's market are also my tomatoes. Now, last year when I did this, I actually bought a total of 5 boxes of this, and I did all of my tomatoes in a 3-day window. This year I'm going to try something a little bit different where we're not going to do it all at once. 1, I don't think my back can handle it. And 2, it's still pretty warm. I also have a lot of time to do this. We're just now starting to come in to the tomato season. As a matter of fact, my garden has quite a bit of tomatoes on it. So I may not have to buy as many boxes as I did for last year. So that brings me to what all of this stuff is. This all handles both the corn and the tomatoes. So let's dive right into this video. I'm going to kind of have to move a few things. And it helps if you have a big tray. Now this is an industrial tray, and you can tell it's got holes on it. It's actually a steaming basket that restaurants or buffets would use. I was able to get it for a very reasonable price. And it kind of fits into my sink. Sort of. But like I said, we'll get into this. This also is stuff that I need for the tomatoes. And I'll show you in a bit what we're going to do with the tomatoes. I'm going to put all of this on my table for right now just to get it out of the way. So the first things that you're going to need is you're going to need corn. Now, how many ears you do totally depends on you. I'm going to start small with a dozen ears. That's 6 meals. When you divide two ears, 1 ear per person, there's 2 in our household. So I divide the amount by 2. So if you buy 18, you're getting 9 meals. If you're doing 16, you're getting 8 meals, and so on. So I'm doing a dozen. That's 6 ears of corn for 6 meals for my husband and I. Now, I will be buying more corn, probably more towards the end of the season, but we're going to try and see how this works right now. Now, for this, you need a couple of things, and I'm going to try to get set up. You're going to need a big pot of boiling water, because you're going to take your shucked ears and you're going to dip them in the boiling water. And you're going to boil them for about 3 to 4 minutes. That's up to you. At 3 minutes, they should be okay. You just want to parboil them a little bit. You don't want them to fully cook. But what you do want to do, and you want to remember this, is after the 3 to 4 minutes, when you take them out, you need to fully, quickly run them under ice cold water to stop the corn from cooking any further. So I'm going to take you guys over. Like I said, this is going to be a multiple video day, and I'll explain about the tomatoes when we get to that part. So I'm going to stop the video for a second so I can grab my pots. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, and you might see both pots on the stove. We're going to deal with this pot right here, and all I did is I filled it about 3/4 with water, and you want your water to boil. You do not want to add salt to the water because you're not cooking the corn. So just have plain water and get it in the boiling process. Now, while that's going on, you can shuck your ears of corn, and I'm going to tilt you this way. I know you're all used to being on the trash can with me, but this time it's going to be a little bit different. And I actually do need to get my husband up here because he's going to help with this portion of the video. And it helps if you have 2 people. It will make it much quicker when you do this. So what you're going to do is you're just going to shuck your corn. You're going to do it like you would normally get it ready to cook it. And you're going to want to remove all of the silks, all of that. Now, if there's any bobbles, and you can kind of see this bobble, you want to make sure you cut that off of the ear of corn. I can shuck it if you'll clean them.
First of all, where am I going to put them once I clean them? You're not going to put them in there yet. You're not ready, are you?
No, well, it's starting to boil.
You need to get ice water out, too.
I will do that after you clean these.
Okay.
They gotta boil. That's the fun thing, is not telling your husband what you're actually doing and surprising him as he's helping. Okay, go ahead. Ooh, this still has a lot of yeah, you can actually put them on that. So, and this is going to be a little bit different. If you've never frozen sweet corn over winter, it's not quite going to be the same as if you got it fresh in the summertime, but it's also not going to be like that store-bought frozen corn that you could buy in the winter time. And plus, it should be much cheaper, and you know what you're getting. So, like I said, you want to shuck it as best as you can. Now, there are a lot of recipes online on, how you can do this. You just follow the recipe. You can leave it on the cob. You can actually, after it's done boiling and it's cooled down a bit, you can actually take it off the cob if you want and freeze it that way. There are different ways of freezing corn. And you want to try to remove as much of the stalk off the bottom of the ear of corn as possible. And you might be wondering, well, what possessed me to do this year? Well, I figured, I'm trying new things save us a little bit of money. And the corn is so good that I figured, you know, why not freeze sweet corn? I mean, it can be done. Now for this recipe, all you need are freezer bags. You don't need jars or any of that. Which is actually a very good thing, because you will need the jars later on for what we're going to do with the tomatoes. So, I'm going to stop the video right now. I'm going to finish chucking in the last 4 ears of corn. I'll be right back. Okay, and I'm back. All of the corn has been shucked. My husband back there is just washing it. I'm going to take you guys over here for a minute. I'm actually going to put that on the table. So, once my husband washes it and takes all of the little silks that I may not have gotten off, he's going to put it on a cookie sheet for me. In the meantime, we're going to wait for our water to boil, because the water has to be boiling in order to do this. Now, there are some things to think about when you do this. One, after it's frozen and you go to use it, you're going to need to adjust your cooking time just a little bit and add a little bit more time than you normally would. Now, in the summertime, my husband puts the sweet corn, and we're talking fresh, not frozen, in saran wrap with a little bit of water, and then we microwave 2 ears for 6 minutes and 30 seconds. Now, once winter comes and these are frozen, you may need to adjust that time, and you may actually need to go a little bit longer, because they're going to be frozen ears of corn. So, while we're waiting for that to be done, which these are all nice and done, used a brush to get all of the little silks out. And you want to get as many of the silks as possible off your corn. Ideally, having them all like that is perfect. Thank you, dear. I'm going to thank him because he was nice enough to do that for me. Yeah, he went, but he'll enjoy it in the wintertime when he has corn. He's not a huge vegetable fan. I mean, he eats vegetables, but he has this preference of which vegetables he likes to eat. So, what you're going to need, and I'm sorry I didn't grab this, and excuse the mess. This is my pantry. Actually, it was the closet before it was the pantry. I'm just getting my largest bowl right now because we need to clean that, and that's what we're going to fill with ice cold water. And you just want to make sure everything is nice and clean. It does not need to be sterilized. I'm going to put you guys down. I'm going to try not to scream at you guys, thinking you guys are being screamed at. I don't want you to think that. I'm just giving my bowl a wash. There we go. I'm just filling the bowl with ice water. I'm going to start with cold water, and then I'll add the ice later on, because the water for the corn is not even boiling yet. Now, if you've never done this before and you're not sure you like frozen sweet corn, I suggest starting simple. Maybe just do a dozen ears for first year and then increasing. If you really like it and you're happy with it, then you can obviously do more. I'll probably do maybe another dozen ears so that we have 12 meals throughout the winter. See how I like it and then make adjustments for next season. Yeah, that's pretty cold. So you are going to need one thing for this recipe. You're going to need a good pair of tongs because you're going to have to lift the corn out of the boiling water after it cooks for about 3.5 to 4 minutes. And I would go 3.5 minutes. I wouldn't go longer than 4 minutes though, because you really don't want to cook your corn fully. So while this is getting ready, I'm going to stop the video and I'll be back in a little bit. Okay, hi everybody, I'm back. My water is just now slowly coming up to a boil, and you want to make sure that the water is in a rolling boil before you add your corn to it. And like I said, you do not want to add salt to the water because you're not actually fully cooking your ears of corn. You're just parboiling them or doing a soft, not a soft. You're just pre-boiling them. You're boiling them enough to shock the kernels, but you're not boiling them long enough to actually cook the kernels. So I'm going to give this a couple of more seconds to come up to a boil. Now it's very important, depending on the size of your pot, you don't want to overcrowd them. So this pot really can't accommodate all 12 ears at once. So I'm only going to do a few ears at a time and get that going. And I'll show you what I mean. And like I said, in the sink, you want to make sure you have a pot of ice cold water, because you're going to dunk your ears of corn once they've reached the boiling point and they've boiled for about 3.5 minutes. You're going to quickly put them in the ice water. That's going to stop the cooking of your ears of corn. And then you're going to want to completely dry them before you freeze them. Now, do you need to do this step? There's been some debate, and I've seen a lot of recipes online. Excuse me. Excuse me. I've seen a lot of recipes online, and it could go either way. A lot of them do say you do need to pre-boil them. There are some recipes, and I think it's more if you're going to take the cobs off the ear. So the little niblets off the ear, if you're going to cut them off the cob, then you don't necessarily need to pre-boil them. But most of the recipes that I've read do require them to be pre-boiled just for a few minutes. Now you can do this, you can also do this with your green beans, you can do this with other vegetables. Just make sure to find a good recipe online or on YouTube before you start to do that. Now, unfortunately, I don't have enough beans to do this with. Maybe at the end of the season, I'll do it next year when I plant the garden. I've already got bigger plans for the garden next year, and I'm going to plant a little bit more differently than I planted this year. So like I said, the water is just now starting to get into a rolling boil, and you guys can kind of see that. I'm going to give it a few more minutes for it to come up to a full boil. So once that happens, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. The water is now rolling boil. I'm going to kind of tilt you guys over here. You may not see me. I'm going to wash my hands really fast. I need to be a little bit gentle because you don't want to get soap in in the water that you're going to dump your kernels in. And you do want to make sure that your hands are nice and clean. So this is boiling. So what we're going to do is I'm going to overlook the corn. I'm just going to start popping them in the boiling water. Like I said, I'm going to do 4. I'm going to do probably 6 for right now. And then I'm going to put the timer on for 3:30. Now, does the water need to come back up to a rolling boil? Not really, but you want to make sure that your corn is submerged. So I got all of my corn in there. Like I said, we're just doing it for 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Now, it's been a long time since I boiled corn. But what you do want to do is you want to make sure that your corn is fully underwater. Which is hard to do because it likes to come up. So I'm sorry if I'm not talking. I'm just waiting for this to finish up. And actually, this is not really boiling, but what we're going to do is trial and error. We're going to see if this works. And I think it works. It will work. I just see a couple of bubbles coming out. I'm just using my tongs to kind of dip. One ear is floating at the surface and is only cooking a little bit. And this is probably why it says don't overcrowd the pan. So if you have really big ears, you might not want to do 6 at a time. You might want to start with 4. And I hope everybody has a great weekend this weekend. I hope your plans are, we're supposed to get some severe weather late tonight, but that keeps changing. They said we were supposed to get storms this morning, and that never happened. So we might luck out and not get any rain today, but I do need to water the garden later on. I also need to mow the lawn, but I'm not going to do that necessarily today because I have too much going on. Okay, we're coming down to our final 20 seconds, and then you're going to leave, if you haven't done all the corn, make sure you leave the pot of boiling water on high, and that it still boils, because you're going to have to boil the rest of your corn. Okay, I'm just going to take your ears and you're going to quickly pop them into the cold water. You want to do this one at a time. Don't try to grab multiple ears at a time because, you know. Okay, there we go. So those are the first 6 ears over here, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to kind of let these go. And that's the first ears, and that's pretty much all you want to do. Now, I need to ask my husband how, if he remembers how we dry this. If we dry this on a
Towel and dry it as much as you can.
paper towel. Okay, so
Take the other.
cookie sheet.
Yeah.
Okay. So what you're gonna basically do is take a cookie sheet, and of course I'm gonna put you guys back where you guys normally are used to going. You're a little bit far. I'm gonna bring you in a little bit that way. Okay, so I have my baking sheet. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna line it with paper towel, and then
You're drying off as much as you can.
yeah, we're gonna dry these as much as possible.
And then wrap it.
And then my husband's gonna do the wrapping part. Since, yeah, well, after they're dried, yes. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually going to grab another thing of paper towels, and I'm gonna put that just on top. You wanna make sure, like I said, you wanna make sure with this recipe that the kernels or the cobs are fully dried, or dried as much as possible. You do not want to have any water on the kernels, because then ice crystals can form, and then you end up having freezer burned corn as it freezes. So my pot's boiling again, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to dump out all of this water and go refill it with cold water. And that's what you want to do, is you want to dump your cold water out, refill it with cold water for the rest of the ears. I'm gonna go ahead and do the rest of the ears. I'll be back once this is done. Okay, I'm back. I'm down to my final 2 minutes of the last of the 12 ears of corn I bought. And you might be saying, well, when are you going to enjoy this? Well, I'm going to freeze this, and I'm going to keep it in the freezer probably until fall time. And the nice thing about freezing corn, especially fresh sweet corn on the cob, is you can actually do multiple things with this. If you do vegetable soups in the wintertime, you've got corn. If you do a dish that requires, corn kernels, defrost it, cook it, take it off the cob, you've got your corn already for whatever you're going to make. So this is a great way to actually get a head start on your soups and vegetables for the winter time. Abigail. And I'm just coming up to the final minute. I'm going to dip this into the water, and I will show you guys once we start to get it ready for the freezer what the next step is. So stay tuned. Okay, I'm back, and I'm just finishing drying, but I've got all 12 ears of corn that's now drying and ready to, once it's fully dried, then we're gonna wrap it. Now, the one recipe that we looked at suggests wrapping it in plastic wrap, then putting it in freezer bags and sucking it up. So I think my husband's gonna use that recipe, and he's gonna do that for us, since I have to handle another segment of the Cooking with Joel video. Now that everything's done, go ahead and clean up your kitchen, and stay tuned. We're going to start making the bases of my sauces. So stay tuned for that video.